It's about I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Here we go. Stop from the gun to the touchdown. It is caught. Touchdown.
This is BS Sports.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back again. Seth is here. We got a great show for you all tonight. We got some NBA talk, obviously, just one day removed from the Nuggets winning their first conference championship. We'll talk NBA playoffs. We got some baseball talk. The Padres are stumbling out of the gate, and Seth is in massive agony. We got some other things to talk about. The Leafs, the Maple Leafs of Toronto, fire their GM. What's going to happen to Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and Mr. Nylander, Willie Nylander? And we're going to talk a little bit more about the NBA draft lottery, a bit more sober from last week. A sad day for us Pistons fans, and by us, I mean all 13 of us.
Correct.
And we'll talk a little bit about Carmelo Anthony announcing his retirement. I believe it was yesterday.
Yep.
Announced his retirement. Talk a little Carmelo Anthony. Still not as good as Darko. Didn't win a championship. Darko did.
Very true.
So I'm just gonna throw that in there.
Yeah.
But Seth, we're gonna start with the headliner. We're gonna start with this Nuggets. I was shocked by how easily they beat the Lakers. I mean, I was
too.
Not in so much like it wasn't like the series wasn't a struggle at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like the games were pretty close, except for like game one where they just blew them out completely. But like every other game was like kind of back and forth. You know, you weren't like guaranteeing victories.
Yeah.
Going into the fourth quarter, and still it was just. Luka, the other white guy, Jokic.
Yeah.
Jokic, just, I mean, again, he's getting a triple-double like every game. He's still averaging a triple-double in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the thing is, though, they're going to run into, more than likely, we'll know by the end of the night, a Miami Heat team that is also red hot that, for whatever reason, seems like both the Nuggets, even though they're the 1 seed, and the Heat, who were the 8th seed, were both just totally, like, people just didn't pay them much attention until about the conference finals, and then they just came alive, and we're going to have potentially a Nuggets-Heat series. I don't want to jinx it. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if they blow the 3-0 lead? I mean, talk about the narratives. They're not going to.
They're not going to. They're going to probably win today.
You would think so. But... yeah, I wanted to hear what your thoughts were. What is the feeling? Obviously, you have the California connection. What is the feeling from Lakers fans back home?
Well, a lot of Lakers fans back home are quite devastated. It was also mentioned, or at least I saw today, and parts of last night too after the game, that people were asking LeBron James about where he goes in his what his career path is from here on out. And so, it's very possible that the old man retires. It's not going to happen, but
no, I'm not convinced of that.
Yeah, and so I mean, overall, I thought this series, I figured I had Denver winning it.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people did.
Not in 4 games though.
No,
I had it
I thought it was
6.
going to 6 or 7.
6 or 7. Yeah, I think
Like,
this majority of people had that. And
I
then
was shocked. I really
you just
was.
see, I mean, you look at Jokic in this series and just the entire playoffs, averaging close to, or if not a triple double. I don't know the stats off the top of my head,
And he
but
won the MVP, the Western Conference MVP, the Magic Johnson Award.
yeah. And
So,
I mean, it's just him and Jamal Murray. It's crazy because this is the first time that they've all been healthy, and this is
yeah.
what the Nuggets should have been doing, I think, in the West the past 2 years. Personally, I
Mhm.
think if they haven't been the best team in the West, I mean, maybe granted, maybe the Warriors beat them out last year or whatever, right?
Right.
But if they weren't the best team, they were in the conversation. They were always a top. I think they were the top seed past
I
2 years,
think
3
yeah,
years, including this
that
one.
sounds right. They might have been the 2 seed. I don't know who the 1 seed was last.
Top.
It was the Suns last year with the 1 seed.
That's right. So
And then they lost by 163 to the Mavericks.
that's correct. I do remember that. So I mean, even still, they're not maybe the 1 seed every year, but
Yeah.
they're in the top half of the West.
Mm.
And yeah, I don't know. I just think that this is how it should have been going for them. And I think for somehow, I mean, I didn't really think depth wise they would end up being what they are. But I mean,
No.
looking
No.
at the game 4 stats, or at least like just the box score, they
Sure.
have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They go 7 guys deep. That's it.
Yeah.
Which I mean, really isn't that deep. But
Yeah, it's just 2 guys off the bench.
yeah, they're just bringing in Bruce Brown and Jeff Green off the bench. That's it.
Jeff Green, who by the way was on the Nets a couple of years ago.
Yes.
I want to say he was a starter.
He was. He did start.
Which goes to show, like, I mean, this is a team where like they're getting production from basically everybody. Like Bruce Brown is getting buckets. You got what's his name? Oh my gosh. Aaron Gordon, who was just like a 3 machine. Like it seemed like I didn't watch every game, intently, but when I did, it was like, who the heck is Aaron Gordon? Why is he just like?
I thought he only
he's
got
like
robbed
lobbing
the
up
dunk
shots. I'm like, oh, here we go. This
championships,
guy, he thinks he's good. And it's like, oh, he made a 3. Okay,
Yeah.
well, he's not gonna make. Oh, he made another 3.
one.
Like I was shocked by just how, I mean, they were dominating everybody, but
Yeah.
I think you just were like, oh, I don't know. LeBron's near the end of his career. He really wants to get one more win.
Yep.
AD was absolutely lights out in like a lot of those games. He had effort coming from Hachimura to Austin Reeves and all these guys just stepping up. And then they just they were just, where's Hachimura? We tried to call him and he's off the line. Like he's just
line's busy.
Admittedly, I was a little disappointed, like, because I
Mhm.
was expecting, this kind of epic battle, the old great versus the new great, and LeBron versus Jokic, and then it's just
It's just Jokic.
just Jokic,
That's
he's in another league. And then
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about this LeBron retiring thing because I just think it's total farce. I think it's not. I think he's blowing steam out of his ass. I don't think he's considering retiring.
He's not.
I think what's happening here is he is probably pressing the Lakers to go get the guys that I want, or else I'm going
to leave.
Because like he doesn't care, right? Like he doesn't need to win another championship to satisfy any of his legacy. Everybody knows he's at the least a top 3 player of all time. Like he's fine with that. He doesn't need to win another championship. He's won a championship with every single team that he has played for. He doesn't need another championship to, prove the haters wrong.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think right now, you got a lot of guys on that roster that might get paid. Austin Reeves is one of them. I think they can match, though. I think he's a restricted free agent. I doubt they let him walk. He wants
a lot of money
on
though.
Austin Reeves personally.
Yeah.
I didn't really think he was that great of a player. I think he got hot at the right moment. I mean, he's still pretty young, but he was surrounded by a lot of really good talent, obviously.
Sure.
And maybe I'll be wrong. I don't know. I just usually assume it's like, oh, random white guy number 36 for the Lakers.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, I was expecting us at this point, this week to be talking about like a 2-3 or a 3, or I was gonna say a 3-2, or
Well,
I don't know how many games. I guess there's been 4, so I guess it couldn't have been 2-3. But I was expecting the series to just be like 2-2, 3-1 maybe. Like,
yeah.
But the fact that the series is just done,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little shocked. But hey, the Nuggets. You know what's funny? I think I mentioned this last week. The Nuggets before this year, obviously, they had the most amount of playoff wins for a franchise that had never made it to the finals.
Yep.
And they finally did it. And I gotta say, resident Lions fan, I love seeing teams that have never made championships finally reached over.
Yeah.
Get to that point. Like, they're not guaranteed to win, obviously. I would love for them to win. It'd be just a great thing for Denver because although, I mean, they just had the Colorado Avalanche win.
Right.
And then now they're having the Nuggets win. And then they have the Colorado Rockies.
Exactly. Where'd they go?
I don't know. They're in last place in the NL West.
Well, that's
but they're sneaking up on your San Diego Padres. We'll get to baseball later.
Yeah, we're not.
But as far as this Heat Celtics thing, oh my gosh, I gotta say, I'm enjoying this, and I don't even like the Heat. Like, I don't like the Heat, but I really don't like the Celtics. It's like the enemy of my enemy. This is where I'm at because I think this series just these Celtics players are soft. They're Charmin Ultra, dude. Like, freaking Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, these guys are just getting pulverized by my man James Buckets the Third.
I know.
Like, single-handed. We were talking about this before the show. Gabe Vincent putting down 29. Like, where is the defense? Where's Robert Williams? Where is Coach Mazzulla? Is he okay?
I don't know.
They might fire him.
Which is insane to me. It's his first year.
I don't get that either. It's his first year. He was not prepared to take over.
No.
And just shows you how tough the Boston market is. They don't mess around. But what do you make of all that? Like, Jason Tatum is a good basketball player.
Absolutely.
Jaylen Brown is a good basketball player.
Yep.
Williams is a great basketball. They got a good team. Like, I get it. Sometimes you lay an egg. Plenty of my teams have laid eggs in the playoffs. Plenty of your teams, plenty of good teams have gotten beaten by teams that are statistically or talent-wise worse. I mean, we just saw it in the NHL. The Bruins blew a 3-1 lead to a Panthers team that is also looking to head to a Stanley Cup. Right. But I just don't like. This is the conference final. This is not.
I know.
This is not typical. Usually,
no,
I mean, at least it hasn't been a thing recently. Sometimes you have shorter series. Like, I know, just obviously a few years ago when the Lakers won, they beat the Nuggets. It was 4-1. And I can't think of the. I don't think it has happened, or maybe not in a long time, that both conference championships were sweeps. So
I don't know.
We could be looking at history in that regard. Definitely. Although it'd be kind of interesting though, because I think the finals are scheduled to just start on June 1st anyway.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna get like, hold on, let me check the calendar. That's like over a week of just break, essentially.
Pretty much.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well,
I mean, I get it.
Yeah,
right? They already scheduled the TV deals. They can't go back on it. They weren't expecting it to be that way.
Well,
but
I
mean, can we just move on to the finals? Maybe we get done a little early. We can start the off season.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I've been talking a lot here. So what are your thoughts here on this Celtics just collapse?
Well, I mean, like you said, I kind of enjoy it. I've never been a big Celtics guy, but that's.
Oh yeah.
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
Right now, that's our reaction right now. We're just feeling it up.
But I will say, I've never really been. I've always liked Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
But the
Boy,
Heat
doesn't Philly feel stupid?
I bet they do.
They gotta feel like they got totally like. Oh my gosh, why would you let him go? I mean, Minnesota too. They
them too, but
they don't. But they're in the other conference, right? It's not like they're getting beat by him.
No.
In this case,
I mean,
I guess they weren't getting beat by either way. They're getting beat metaphorically.
Same conference, yeah. And I mean, I really like that. Like, I've never been a big Heat guy, like I said, but I like the fact that they have so many guys who are like their role players,
Yeah.
are just insane.
They're
And I don't know where they find these guys,
I don't know. I don't
but
know. Apparently,
it's
off
awesome.
the streets. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like we were talking about this before. I mean, it's like, do they just have the best rec centers in Miami? Because I'm under the impression, Miami, it's nice weather, a lot of people vacationing. Like, where are they? Like, I
Where are
mean,
they finding
I
these
get
guys?
the Heat. I don't know. They're one of the best run organizations in the NBA, clearly, because they're
Yep.
just able to put together these teams. And I was thinking too, the Heat are exactly what the Pistons are supposed to be. Just a hard-nosed team.
Yep.
Maybe you got like one star / superstar guy. I don't know where you want to put Jimmy, but I think he's pushing for superstar.
In the
at this
playoffs,
point.
superstar.
Yeah, right. In the playoffs, in the regular season, just probably a star.
Yeah.
But like, you just have this kind of conglomeration of. I've used this talking about the Tigers sometimes. Just this collection of misfit toys who
Pretty
maybe
much.
they don't work out with these other teams, or they're in these big markets, or they're overshadowed by somebody else. But you put them all together. This is what Joe Dumars did with the Going to Work Pistons. We were picking up Ben Wallace and Rasheed Wallace and Chauncey Billups, players nobody wanted. We were just, fine. You don't want them, we'll overpay you for Chauncey Billups. We'll overpay you for Rip Hamilton because Michael Jordan wants to rip off his head. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we just, and I
look
feel
what
like
that
that's
gets
what
you,
the
though.
Heat are doing, and it is a recipe for success, and it's a recipe for likability. Like I don't like the Heat, but I kind of like this Heat team. Like when it was Dwayne Wade and LeBron and Chris Bosh, I was like, please, I can't stand this.
Yeah.
But it's like, this is Jimmy Butler, this is Bam Adebayo, this is before he got hurt, Tyler Hero and Kevin Love, the corpse of Kevin Love. I didn't know he was still playing basketball. I was like, wait, Kevin Love. He's still playing, and they're getting value out of him.
And so, I mean, I agree like 100% with everything that's been brought up. I just really like that, what they're doing, and unfortunately, it was against the Bucks. But I mean, I cannot argue with what they're doing. I mean, they are about. Let's not jinx it, but let's be honest here.
I mean, you got to win one more game out of 4. Like
they're going to the finals,
almost certainly.
Which is
and we
insane.
could know that by tonight.
They
would. I definitely would be the first 8 seed to make it to the finals.
Yeah.
Which actually gives some credence to the just get in, right? Because in the NHL, this has always been a thing. Just get into the playoffs. Anything can happen. Doesn't matter what seed you are. You could be the top seed. You could be the bottom seed. Doesn't matter. Anybody can win.
That's how
the NBA was never always. It was like, this is like a man's league, right? You got the superstar teams. They're going to be the ones that are typically going to make these runs. But I think the Heat are sort of proving that theory wrong. I mean, I think a lot of teams now, they're going to start to see the Heat and be like, like this is going to be the thing. This is going to be the thing that's repeated ad nauseum if the Heat end up winning. Well, actually, if you're an 8 seed, did you know the Miami Heat won as an 8 seed? So don't you despair just because it's like, okay, guys, I get it.
It's
and
what's
I think
going to happen when the Lakers fans have that next year.
It's going to make it more entertaining though, because it's going to be a bunch of teams now being like, all right, well, maybe we're the next Miami, maybe we're the next 8 seed that's going to do it. And you probably won't be, but that means you're not just going to be like, oh, well, I don't want to be an 8 seed. I'm going to go get a 0.0001% chance to go win the lottery like the Dallas Mavericks did. Like if the Mavericks, I don't know, maybe they might have been more inclined to be like, you know what, let's just get into the plan and just get in, just win 1 out of 2 and, just get in and don't worry about anything. And just hope that you can put it together in the playoffs. If you don't win, whatever. You're an 8 seed. You lose a long shot anyway. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I really hope too. I mean, I think let's be real here for a second. I think the finals are going to be Nuggets and Heat. Yeah. And it was touched on. I think I mentioned it. Just now talking about the Nuggets, but I have the Nuggets winning the playoffs. I have them winning the NBA championship in 6 games against the Heat.
Wow. That's good.
Because for what Jokic, who the player that Jokic is, as much as I think that Bam Adebayo is a great defender, he's not going to guard Jokic, and Jimmy Butler could guard Jamal Murray.
Anthony Davis couldn't guard Jokic.
I know Anthony Davis,
and Anthony Davis is one of the best defenders in the league. I don't think Bam Adebayo, I mean, is anything close.
He's up there as far as a defender for sure, but I mean, just maybe AD and Adebayo are 2 different.
I feel like
levels.
they're on
I'll
two
give you
different
that.
tiers. Like I think it's like S tiers AD and A tiers out of bio. If I
Sure,
had to
but I
do a
mean,
tier list.
yeah, and I mean, you're looking at this, and I'm thinking nobody on the Heat is going to be able to guard Jokic if nobody they've played so
He's gonna put
far.
up 30 points and like 15
Probably
assists. Like
probably a triple double for
yeah,
the
like I mean, it's just
yeah.
and he doesn't even have to put up that many points because he gives the ball to Jamal Murray. He gives the
Yeah.
ball to KCP. He gives the ball to
Aaron Gordon.
Bruce Brown, to Aaron Gordon, to
Yeah.
the corpse of DeAndre Jordan. Like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he can. It's like he really is like the epitome of. I mean, we were talking earlier today. Like, he doesn't even look like a basketball player. He just looks like a dude. Like
He's just there.
He's just like a body, and
He
you're
looks like some
wait,
foreigner.
you're like
just there.
well, I mean, he is
Well,
just some foreigner. Actually.
He is, yeah. That's
but it's
Serbian
like
guy.
I think it's like this is the thing, right? When people say, "Oh, well, did you know?" Like we'll get into this when we talk a little bit about the lottery. Well, did you know that Jokic was taken? Number what was he like 16 or something like that?
No, Jokic was
Or was
in
it
the
6?
he was in the second round.
He was in the second round.
Yeah, he got drafted like 41st.
I didn't know. Okay, well, whatever. Like, oh, well, did you know that this guy got taken late?
Well, yeah.
It's like, yeah, guys. The reason was probably because you look at him, and unless you're a competent organization that has some development history, no. And honestly, to give the Nuggets credit, it's not like they had some development history. I mean, who was their best player before Jokic? Carmelo?
Probably Melo. Yeah.
Like, and he
I
was
would
taken
think.
number 3. Like,
Yeah, out of Syracuse. Yep.
yeah, and I mean, look,
It's crazy. And the other thing, to kind of piggyback off that point, Jimmy Butler was taken last in his draft class. He was dead last.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's
I mean,
that's cool for the storylines,
Look, I get it. Everybody likes to talk about, oh, well, this guy didn't get picked. Kobe.
Yeah.
Kobe wasn't a number 1 pick. He got
no.
He was
I
don't remember when, but he wasn't like a top 5 pick.
No.
Obviously we can go through all the examples. Kwame Brown was picked number 1. I get it.
Yes.
Like there are busts, but I don't have the math on this. I don't have the numbers. I think if you take the average of the quality of player you're going to get in the top 5 and like by like win shares based on like the top 5 or something.
Yeah.
Versus like everybody else, it's probably not particularly close. Like
probably not.
Like it's like yes, you can get your Kobe Bryants or your Jokic's or your Jimmy Butlers or the name escapes me. Who are some other players taken out of the top 5?
Giannis.
Giannis, you're Giannis's. Thank you. I don't know why I forgot about him. Like you can get these guys, but they are the exceptions. Like for every Giannis, there's a. Now I got to look up NBA drafts. Let's find some great NBA drafts. Let's go through. No, not 2022. Let's just do. Let's do 2018. That was a pretty good draft class, right?
It was.
Let's for every Giannis, you have your
nobody. Giannis is awesome.
Musa. Does anyone know who Dezanin Musa is?
Probably a star in the G League.
I'm definitely mispronouncing his name. A solid stat line of 4, 1, and 0.9.
Well, there you go.
Really good stuff there.
Almost on par with 31, 13, and 6.
Yeah, who could forget, of course, the great, I guess Kevin Huerter's. Well, Kevin Huerter's a great example, right? Kevin Huerter's not a great player. Like, he's just fine. There. Like, it's like people will throw in, like, oh, well, we could get, I don't know, Colin Sexton. It's like, so? Like,
he's just a role player at this point.
He's a good player, but he's like, guys, do you know what the difference is between averaging 14 a game and averaging like 25? It's the difference between winning playoff games and being movable piece. Like, Jaden Ivey averaged 14 points this year, and he's 20. Like, that's not supposed to be your like peak. Like,
that's not supposed. Yeah, it's not supposed to be the goal that you get in the draft.
I mean, people do this with baseball all the time too. There's I'm dealing with it with the Tigers right now because we have a bunch of guys who are almost certainly not going to be on the team in 3 years. And I get it. Well, Matt Vierling is really guys. He's 26 and he's averaging in his career like 240. He's not going to change. He's just who he is. Like
that's it.
When you're a certain age or what, like usually, unless your name is Barry Bonds and you take loads of steroids, and by the way, he was better even before he did steroids. I sound like a total like did steroids, like,
but still
did the weed. Like it's like you can't just like take these examples of players that were taken later and then just being like, well, why don't we just do that?
Yeah.
Like, what a great idea. Why didn't we think of that? Like, of course, that's the strategy is you want to get those guys. But if your GM is either A, not good, well, you're just not going to get those guys. C, who is the Stanley Johnson? Like he was taken in the top 5, I think.
Really?
I think he was. He was at least in the top 10. And now he's in China, I think.
Playing for the Beijing Sharks.
Hey, they're a good team this year. Don't you sleep on the Beijing Sharks. Or oh my gosh. The problem with being a fan of rebuilding teams is fans will get duped a lot. And I'll get duped too. Because you'll see a guy and you'll have a hot streak and you're like, wow, man, maybe we got the steal. Maybe we totally just and it's like, maybe you did.
Or
statistically speaking, you probably did.
Probably.
Like right now we have this guy, Zach McKinstry, having a pretty good season. He's batting like 270. He's got some decent fielding. He's playing better than he ever has in his career. Zach McKinstry is 28 years old. He is who he is.
Correct.
And his career average is like 220 with 14 home runs, including this year. Like, I don't even hate these guys. I'm not trying to say we got to just like ship them all off and have no like, we have control of them, but don't get attached to these kinds of players because they're not like, if you're over the age of 25, or especially if you're over the age of 27 in baseball or in most sports, like at least in baseball, 27 is usually your peak. In the NBA, they say you usually peak in the decade after you were drafted. So like Giannis was taken in 2014?
13, I think, 14.
Yeah, like, and then, he peaks in the 2020s, right? Makes sense. Like MVP, all that jazz.
Right.
And, like he's at his highest level right now. What's that?
Championship?
Yes, obviously. Yeah. All these things. But I guess with that, we can just sort of jump into this NBA lottery thing. So obviously my Detroit Pistons fell once again to number 5, winning 16 games this year. They were the worst team in the league by basically every statistical measure. And the lottery said no more. They said no more Pistons. And this is a point I wanted to make just for the record because everybody's watching the reaction video of me yelling obscenities towards the NBA and saying it's rigged and all this. And people, I need to explain things to people because they hear somebody say something and they just assume that whatever their argument is for it, it's just the weakest form of that argument. So I want to go down the list of things that I do not think to clear my name, as it were.
Yes.
So, number 1, no, I do not think that a 14% chance to win the lottery is a high chance or that I should even expect to win on a 14% odds. I do not think that. Okay. Number 2, no, I do not think that just because you're the worst team, that means you should win the lottery. In fact, that has never happened, I don't think. Number 3, obviously, not every first overall pick is going to be super good. Number 4, there's many things.
Here we go.
Hold on. Number 4 was, yes, it involves development when you take a pick at any spot, so you have to pick well regardless of where you land.
Correct.
And I think finally, number 5, no, not every single lottery is just like totally rigged and they're choosing the results beforehand. However, when there are these generational talents, whether or not they actually turn out to be, I'm looking at Zion Williamson, or Greg Oden, whether or not they actually turn out to be these players that they're advertised as, the point is, I think the NBA, I think the owners, I think the media, whoever you want to say, there is an interest for them to put them in teams that have, number one, a history of success and a marketability for the player to be able to be showcased on a national stage in a relatively easy manner. So that's why you see teams like the Charlotte Hornets or even the Portland Trailblazers or, yes, the Detroit Pistons not typically win these lotteries when these generational talents are on the board, right? Like, I was talking to, I don't know who I was talking to. It was probably to you. Like, when basically randos on the internet can be like, oh, yeah, I think probably San Antonio or Houston is going to win. And then they're just right. Like, I'm sorry. I thought this was a 14% chance. Shouldn't most of us be wrong about our predictions? If it's only a 14% chance, then why does everybody just immediately figure out what the narrative answer would be to what the NBA would want most for the lottery? See, it's like we can't do this with like the games, right?
Correct.
Because the games are just being played. They can't force LeBron to make a basket every single time. So we can't say, oh, the NBA is rigging the championships. We can't do that. But what we can do is we can make some predictions based on, San Antonio, they got Tim Duncan, they had David Robinson. This is a storied franchise. It's on a downward spiral. They need that up and comer. They got a legendary coach who's, nearing the end of his career. They want to end him out with a bang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Let's give him Victor Wembanyama. It's like, yeah, it makes sense. I understand why they would do that, right? Like, what would the narrative be, I guess, if he went to the Pistons? Well, you got an up-and-coming team. Detroit is French-ish. Killian Hayes is French.
There's some, yeah.
It's like they're like they don't have a coach. We don't know anything. Like, it's not as like cohesive, right? It's not as like you can't have stories and articles and all these things. Like, it's just not going to work. And obviously, they only have so many teams that they could realistically do this for. Because, like, if he went to Dallas, everyone would be like, please. Of course they're doing this. They just want to give Lucas something because they love Dallas. And they want to, push that franchise to be another championship contender. Like, the thing is, like, we shouldn't be thinking this way. I shouldn't be talking this way. Because this whole lottery thing in the NHL, it's stupid. They're doing it in Major League Baseball now. It's stupid there, and it's dumb in the NBA. Like, why do we do this? The NFL doesn't do this. The NBA didn't do this for a long time. I don't know what the point of this is, especially when, for one, the Pistons were not tanking. This is another thing I want to play. Pistons were not tanking last year. They sucked. They lost their number one overall pick. 13 games into the year.
This is bad. This is very, very bad.
Right, Stephen A. This is very bad. So we lose our best player, who at the time was averaging 19 points a game. And we had no defense, so we were having to rely on any offense we could generate.
Correct.
And so
the Pistons just weren't good.
Like, we just weren't a good team. If they want to boost a team from being bad and not reward tanking, which, I mean, come on. Who seriously believes that Adam Silver is, knocking on the door of San Antonio? Excuse me, please don't tank for Victor Wembanyama. What is he going to do? What is he going to fine them $300,000 that they'll just make up in ticket sales the moment that
it happens?
Like, it's just like,
yeah.
I never understood the lottery. I especially don't understand the lottery when they're doing it behind closed doors and then, like, after the fact, well, here's the video, guys. Look, this is us doing the lottery. It's like, this looks like a hostage video. Like, what? Not the broadcast. Why do we just get, I don't even know the name of the gentleman who reveals the Asian guy. I can't think of his name.
Why don't I know his name either? I should, but I don't.
I don't even have anything against these people. I mean, I think that they're like, Adam Silver is not Adam Silver's just a lawyer, right? He's just representing the owners. I have much more problems with the like brass of the NBA, which is the ownership, than I do with like, because Lord knows Tom Gores is not, hey guys, maybe the Pistons should win the lot. They're just like, shut up, Tom. We don't care about you. Like your team sucks. Anybody want to sign up for UWM?
No.
Nope, not gonna happen. So yeah, but the result is what it is. The Pistons are going to be picking 5th in this draft, and I think most, if not like maybe like 60-40 Pistons fans right now probably thinking they want to trade that pick. And I kind of agree with them. What are you thinking right now? What is the trajectory that you think the Pistons should be taking with this pick?
I think probably a trade would be beneficial. I think because if you trade that pick away to somebody who wants to get up there, you get a player who, which I don't know what. It's hard to say because you could package. You have a package deal for the 5th pick,
right? And they're going to be asking not for James Wiseman. They're going to be asking for something of substance because
correct.
The thing is, Houston's already shopping the pick. Portland's shopping the pick. Why would we trade with Detroit when we can just get a better pick from these other teams?
Yes.
And so that puts us in a really tough spot.
Yeah, it's kind of a tough
we're
area
almost
for sure.
forced to take the pick, right? And the thing is, theoretically, Troy Weaver, general manager, is supposed to be his wheelhouse, right? His first draft class was a total waste. I mean, 2 of the players still remain, and one of them is not going to get re-signed. At least for sure, one of them is not getting re-signed. I don't know where Isaiah Stewart is going to stand. Depends if he has a breakout year, then maybe you sign him to a small team.
Hey, everyone loves Big Stew, so.
Beef Stew.
Beef Stew.
You don't even know his name.
Big Stew.
How could you disrespect Isaiah Stewart?
I'm just scared of him. I think he might tear my head off like he almost did to LeBron,
That was that. I think that was peak Pistons fans moment. That was like, you know what it is? Because Pistons fans have this like weird love for him. Like every time I'm seeing posts, it's like, oh, we got this young core. We got Cade. Okay, I'm with you. We got Ivy. I'm with you. Duran. I'm with you. Beef Stew. I'm like, Beef Stew.
Hold on a second.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? He's not a part of the core. Here? Like, what is like? Do I need to pull up his stats? Let's do it. Let's pull up Isaiah Stewart's stats.
Why not?
This year. Solid 11, 8, and 1. That's 8 rebounds a game, 1 assist a game, 11 point. Not terrible, but like Isaiah Stewart's a dime a dozen. Like
you can find that somewhere
there's a
else.
lot of Isaiah Stewarts in this league. Correct. And especially because he's a center, right? Sometimes he technically can play power forward, but like he's a center. And we have Jalen Duran, who is taller, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
Stu is 6'8".
Okay, Jalen Duran's like 6'11", right?
Duran is 6'10". So Duran's got a couple of inches on him, and he's younger. And he I think he even played better than. I think he didn't have as many points. Like his counting stats were smaller, but he's got far more upside.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
definitely.
But I mean, if people are thinking about trading the pick, well, how willing are you to trade Jalen Duran? How willing are you to depart with a little Jaden Ivey?
See, and that's where you get into this tough area because I don't think if that is going to be the package deal, that's going to be a big gamble because I think both
and then the
Ivy
other thing is,
and
who
Duran,
are you trading with? Who are you getting? Because you're not going to get Jaylen Brown, probably not for the 5th pick. They would much rather take, Houston's offer or Portland's offer, and
see that's a tough.
He's out of the realm, and then free agency, we got Dylan Brooks.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's gonna be a Piston. I forgot about that. But it's just so it's like this tough. It's this tough area because I don't think.
And you can't go out and be a bottom 3rd team for the 5th straight year.
No. Like, you need to at least be in the realm of.
You need to be winning like 30 games. Like I get into arguments. It's like, guys, 30 games out of what do they play?
82.
82 games. You're not winning. You're like a terrible team. You're like the Pacers. I don't think that's that big of a stretch. Like
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Obviously, the thing is, this year was a bit of a wash to begin with. We didn't have Cade.
Yes.
Ivy was basically developing by himself.
But that
for better or for worse,
beneficial.
but he played fine. He was, all rookie second team. Say with
Yeah.
Jalen Duren.
Yep.
They had something there, and I don't know what's the deal with Bogdanovich. Weaver kind of
He's old.
We're not keeping him.
Yeah.
He signed, I think, for a couple more years, but we're probably thinking of trading him as soon as the offseason begins, if not sometime in the middle of the season. Sure. I mean, you might be able to. He's probably something you could add in a trade package for a team that wants to,
like a veteran or something.
Yeah, I mean,
but then you don't.
But then you lose his shooting, right? Like he was one of our better offensive players, for better or for worse. And maybe you think Cade and Ivy are just going to make up for that. Okay, well, that's a decent gamble. I'm willing to bet on it. Sure. But I wouldn't be surprised if it just blew up in our face.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys trade away the pick and then somebody who's young and has a high upside, and then that blows up in your face. I'm telling you, it's the Piston way. It's the Detroit sports. It's the curse. You guys have it. I don't know why, but trust me.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
You add on to this whole thing with the Kevin Ollie for some reason. I don't get it. I don't know anything. I don't know that much about Kevin Ollie. I know that he's in the G League. He's blacklisted in the NCAA. He won one national championship with UConn a decade ago.
Correct.
Like, I don't know what Troy Weaver is thinking. And the problem is, from what I've been seeing from James Edwards, who's a Pistons beat writer, he's saying, like, there's been internal turmoil about this head coaching thing. And it's like, wait a minute. Is Tom Gores, the owner, trying to stop Troy Weaver from hiring Kevin Ollie? Because Tom Gores does not know anything about basketball. He probably doesn't even know where the Pistons play.
Probably not.
And if he's telling you, hey, I don't like this guy, either he's an idiot and Kevin Ollie is actually really good, or our GM is an idiot and Tom Gores, being an idiot himself, is somehow smarter than the other idiot.
Than the idiot GM. It's two idiots.
I don't. Yeah. And that's the problem, right? Like this was the problem with the Tigers under Al Avila. Is like you had two dimwits running the team. They had no idea. None of them knew anything about the modern game. At least Al Avila, he had some resume of being a scout and having history in baseball. But like this is the same deal. Like Troy Weaver, he was one of the big reasons for OKC getting Russell Westbrook. Yeah. And he has a draft history. He built much of that OKC team. He drafted, or at least was in large part a part of the draft for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's one of the up-and-coming stars for the Thunder. And look, if he wants to go this route of just draft your way out, you're in for a tough time in the NBA because, as we've talked about before, you need a star. And, maybe Cade will be a star. Maybe Ivy will be a star.
But that's the thing, though. It's
the odds of all of these guys hitting and you being like the Warriors or the Thunder is very low. Like Kevin Durant was drafted when they were the Supersonics. Like they were not good for a long time. Like
until they got Westbrook.
Until they got Harden.
Until they got
mixed it up with, KD and all that. Like it takes a lot of time for that to work. And the problem is I don't know how patient we are going to be given that we just got screwed out of the lottery. We'll probably be in the lottery conversation again next year, even with a fully healthy team. Like even best case scenario, we win like 30 games. That'd be great. We'd at least have something to go off of. Maybe Cade, averages like 22 or something insane. Like he just goes off and he's like an all-star. I don't know.
Sure.
Just like something really good for us.
Yes.
And if that happens, maybe you got something. Maybe we do what Philly did. We trust the process, right? We draft and stash. We get these guys. And then we go out and we spend on some free agent. We go out and say F them picks with whatever picks we have left.
Well,
that's the other thing. We don't exactly have a war chest.
Yeah.
We traded a bunch of picks to it was like when we were giving away guys, we might have given away too much. I think like the Knicks have our first round pick either next year or the year after or something like that.
Okay.
The NBA is weird. I don't understand any of these trades. Like it's
I
like
don't either.
we'll give you the 2037 first round. It's like, oh, okay. Like what worth is that to me? Like
at this point in time, yeah. What
I don't know what I don't know what the solution is to that. Like, do you make it like you can only trade like next year's or like a certain amount because
maybe
I think the NFL has like a limit, right? You can't just be like, I'll give you the 2028 first round pick. It's like, no,
you're
like that's not fair at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But look, the Pistons, as far as what we do in this taking fifth, I mean, we're looking at guys like the Thompson brothers and was it Whitmore? Cam Whitmore, I think, is a guy out of like Villanova. It's like, yeah, maybe these guys will be good. Maybe. But they're going to be like 19-20. And typically when you're 19-20 playing against 25-plus-year-olds, especially in the Eastern Conference, like we're in the same division as the Bucks. I don't think these 20-year-olds are going to enjoy Giannis just like breaking into their home. Like
correct.
And just eating them. Like
probably not.
And it's not going to be good for their development. It's not going to be good for anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, we talked about potential moves for the Pistons. We talked about free agents. Obviously, Dylan Brooks is apparently on the table.
Yeah, well.
And I just don't know. I don't know what to do with this team, and it sucks. It just sucks. It's like
it's a part of the waiting game. It's the Detroit way. We
just gotta wait. But I think that's a good enough NBA talk. You want to talk? I want to actually before we drop the NBA, let's talk a little Carmelo Anthony. Obviously retiring. One of the all-time greats. Obviously there's something of a personal thing with Carmelo Anthony and the Pistons, just given we took Darko ahead of him. But my thing, and we were talking about this earlier, I don't think if we took Carmelo Anthony, it would be like the dream team. I think it probably wouldn't have looked as good because of the type of player Carmelo was. This was a guy who took his own shots. Like this is he didn't care who his teammate was. It was just I don't know. I'll just take a shot. And plus, at the time, he was like 19. Like he was a kid. He was probably not going to be. He might not have. I mean, he could have been he probably would have been a starter on that team. Like he probably would have taken Hamilton. But like that's the thing, though. It's like you're messing with the synergy of that team at that point, right? Like you had Rip, you had Chauncey, you had Wallace. You didn't have Rasheed at that point. You traded for Rasheed in the middle of the year, but Rasheed is not the same player at all. Rasheed is a defensive guy.
Correct.
And
that's what the Pistons were at that time too.
Yeah. I mean, it was a much more defensive league generally. I mean, we were winning games less than 100 points were being scored most of the time. I think when we played the Nets, this was back when they were in New Jersey, we held them to like 70 points or something insane. Like something that doesn't happen in the NBA today.
Not more.
Let alone in the playoffs. Like, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
And so just to look back at Carmelo Anthony's career, though, I mean, he is one of the all-time greats. And
for sure.
Even having the ball hog moniker to it. I mean, this is a 10-time All-Star, guys. He, in his career, 22.5 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists a game. Like at his peak, he was close to a 30-point a game shooter. Like he was unbelievable for the Nuggets for, like about a decade, a little less than a decade. And then he was unbelievable with the Knicks. And obviously since the Knicks, he's just kind of been in and out as far as quality time. But I don't know. I mean, you were much younger, obviously, than I don't even know if you really remember him on the Nuggets. Like that was where I remember him. And so like, it was honest. I was like, oh yeah, he's still playing. Like it was like, and he's like one of the last few guys in that draft class, like in that top set of guys. Obviously we don't know what's going on with LeBron, but like Bosh is gone, Wade is gone, Darko. He's still in our hearts. He remains forever.
Well,
as at least one of the great, I would say draft winners, but most people would say draft busts. And
yeah,
Carmelo is one of the last guys. Like he's one of the last guys, end of an era, truly.
Yep, from that 03 draft class.
And he's also probably one of the better players to have never won a championship. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yep. And I mean, he had the chance with, LA, but
he did.
Yeah.
He did. And he had the chance with Denver. I mean, they went to the conference championship. What was it? I think it was 2000 and it might have been 2007, 2008. The year the Lakers ended up winning.
Okay.
But I think they were in the conference championship that year.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see what year it was. Finished second in the Northwest Division. Where did they lose? Yes, they lost to the Lakers in 07-08 in the conference championship. They got swept, but they were in there. That's the point. And the other thing, I was just sort of looking back, I miss the old Nuggets, like aesthetic, like the light blue and the mountains.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
the Nuggets had cool jerseys.
yeah, it was like
they're pretty cool.
I miss that, and there's not really anything in particular that I could say on that. It's just that it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's nostalgia. I get it.
Like the early 2000s, you had some great logos. The Toronto Raptors logo,
it's
a masterclass. The old Grizzlies logo, masterclass.
Very true.
But now, I don't know. The NBA is kind of mid on logos right now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe the Pistons will get something new. I know they have some. I think there's definitely a rebrand in the works. But they haven't obviously moved on it because we still have that terrible logo.
Oh, that's right.
There are some people. This is not to go on too much of a tangent. There are some people who are like, "Oh, what's wrong with our logo? It's classic. It's and I'm like, guys. You know what it reminds me of? Because it doesn't remind me of the Bad Boys because it's not the same logo as the Bad Boys. Bad Boys is slightly different. It's not the same one. It reminds me of terrible basketball. That's what it reminds me of.
All it's been.
Like, here's the thing, right? Like all these people who say, I mean, now granted, people will say the same thing about the horse logo, but at least the horse logo looks cool. Like at least the horse logo, I think it's cool looking. It's something that's it's divisive. In that sense, like it gets people to like be like, oh, it's either super ugly or I love it.
Yep.
And at least like this, it's like nobody would put the current Pistons logo in like a high tier of like logos, right? Like it's like
I think it's like average.
Yeah, right. It's average. It's like it's
like a C.
It's like it's circle.
It's a circle and
it's
got
like
red
kind
and blue.
of a basketball. It's got the red and blue and white.
Yeah.
I don't know. But one more thing actually on the NBA. So we got a game for you, Mr. Seth. Or actually, before we get to our game,
yes,
I saw a post here on the most reliable source on the internet, Reddit.
Correct.
And it was from Joe Varden, who I guess is some NBA writer. I don't know.
Never heard of him.
So, quote, Doc Rivers considered a quote-unquote sleeper candidate for Bucks head coaching position. Furthermore, in the hours after Rivers' firing was announced, I'm assuming this Joe Varden guy, spoke with 3 NBA front office executives, 2 in the Western Conference and 1 in the Eastern Conference, who expressed somewhere between skepticism and outright doubt that Rivers would get another job for the upcoming season. But then one pointed to the unpredictability of the situation in Phoenix, where new owner Matt Ishbia has traded for Kevin Durant and fired Williams. And another mentioned Rivers as a potential sleeper candidate in Milwaukee. And around we go again. Mr. Seth, what are you thinking? Do you think maybe we take a bite at Doc Rivers? Give the guy another shot.
Do you want my honest opinion or my fake one? I'll give you a hint. They're both the same. No, I do not want Doc Rivers as a head coach.
Why?
Because he's Doc Rivers. I don't want him.
What's wrong with Doc Rivers? He's won a championship.
What year was that?
That's neither here nor there.
What was the team he was coaching?
I believe it was the Boston Celtics as well.
Who was on that team?
Larry Bird.
That's right.
That's
that is
correct.
definitely from that time.
I think it was
But
Bill
no.
Russell, actually.
Oh, yes. There you go. I think that's more accurate. But no, if we were to get an outside head coach, my vote personally is for Nick Nurse. I like Nick Nurse more than
Now,
Doc
to be
Rivers.
fair, this is the only thing that I saw of the Bucks connected to the Doc Rivers thing. I
hope it's a sleeper, and I hope it stays asleep.
stays asleep.
It stays in bed.
Yeah, why don't you
forever.
just don't wake up, Doc Rivers, please?
Just stay over there or go to Phoenix. That's fine. I don't care.
Yeah,
I don't want Doc Rivers. I want Nick Nurse.
He really is just like. I hate to just blame the coach all the time, but it's really hard with him. It really is. Like, he's just like every time it seems this guy finds a new way to lose. It's like
look at him with the Clippers.
Yeah.
He had a great Kawhi and Paul George on the Clippers.
It was a 3-1 lead.
And then whoosh, it went away.
Yeah. What did he lose by? They lost by 50 or something, right? Or was that the following year?
I don't know. I think that was the following year. I think a 3-1 lead was blown against. I don't know if the Mavericks beat them.
Well, the 3-1 lead was also blown. Well, he wasn't the coach at that time, I don't think. With Chris Paul, didn't they have a 3-1 lead that year as well?
He might have been the coach.
Was he the coach back then?
I think it was. Wasn't that the year against the Spurs?
Well, that was like Lob City, though. So I don't know if he was
Yeah.
a coach. That was, like Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin.
Should we ask Google?
We could ask Google.
See.
I mean, it's like, as you're Googling this, I wanted to give my 2 cents on Doc Rivers. I don't think that the Philly situation is totally his fault. I kind of mentioned this last week when you can check out the video that I posted on the Sixers. I kind of posted this last week. I mean, like, your team has to show up too. Like, you can't coach guys not showing effort. I mean, I guess you can, but like, there's only so much you can do, right? Like,
yeah,
if James Harden wants to stand around and act like a dumbass, like, there's not a whole lot Doc Rivers can do.
That's James.
And the other thing, though, of course, is like Doc Rivers is, at this point, he's basically just like a doormat. Like, I don't think players really care about what he says. Like, I mean, there's been some things that I've seen where, Joel Embiid had a good relationship with Doc. James did not. And I don't know. Like, he's probably a nice guy. Like, I don't.
He seems like it.
Like, it's just like at a certain point, though, it's like, you lose enough times and eventually the team just kind of is like, yep, Doc's talking again. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'll hear about it next week and maybe we go and win a game. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But what did Google tell you?
According to Google, he was the head coach of the Los Angeles Clippers from 2013 to 2020.
Okay, so I think that was Lob City then.
And that series that you're talking about against the Spurs, I believe that was 14.
Okay, yeah.
So he was the coach.
Now,
I think
Chris Paul didn't get hurt that year. That was with the Rockets where he got hurt, right?
I think Chris Paul was injured in that series too. But I think it was
What
the
a
last game or one of the last games.
By the time they could have won the series like 4 games earlier, he decided, you know what, guys, I'm just gonna call it quits.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, Doc Rivers is like the Chris Paul of coaches. It's like
somewhat
finding ways to lose. At least, I don't even know is Doc Rivers a Hall of Fame coach? I don't know about that. I mean, obviously
he probably will be, but
just because of his longevity and he usually is on winning teams. Obviously,
that's the thing.
He's in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's kind of like Mike Budenholzer, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But Mike Budenholzer he's got.
But
then
the question is Coach Bud a Hall of Fame coach?
I mean, that's the thing. It's what you base it off of, and that's like a whole different thing. But
I feel like for a coach, unlike for a player, it is kind of based on championship and playoff success. Like, if you're one player, you can't exactly, be totally blamed. Whereas if you're the coach, you're in some sense, corralling the team. So
Correct.
I don't know.
It's a weird situation. But yeah, anyway, to answer your question, no, I do not want Doc Rivers. I'd rather have Nick Nurse.
Okay.
That's my pick for coach.
What about Kevin Ollie? Do you want to take him off our hands?
Probably not. No, I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, suit yourself.
Yeah,
I'll
okay.
see you in the 2026 Eastern Conference Finals.
That sounds good.
But Seth, we have a game that I want to play with you because
boy.
obviously these NBA playoffs have featured some great players from all different teams, all shining. But
All
I
over the
noticed
place.
something about it was about a week ago, I think, when I was just watching the games. I was like, oh yeah, he used to play for the Pistons, and
Sure.
he used to play for. I was like, you know what? Let me look into these former. Let me see how many former Pistons are there,
Sure.
and so I'm going to list off some teams here. All of them were either in the playoffs or the play-in.
Okay.
And you're going to try to name for me the player that is on their roster that was a Piston. Now, I'm going to establish a caveat here because I saw a post. Somebody pointed out DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan never played for the Pistons. I think he was on the team for like half a second and then we let him go or something.
He was on the roster. I remember that.
Yeah, but he never played. It's like a not Mo Bamba. The other guy who's on the Knicks now. I can't think of his name. We've had Kemba Walker. Kemba, I think, was on he was on us. He's on our team, but he never played a game. And then he walked or something. I don't remember what the situation was, but I'm not talking about those players. I'm talking about players who actually were on the court. They wore Pistons jerseys and they played at least one game. As in, there is a basketball reference page where you can see their stats for the team. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna get started here.
Okay.
We need some good. Is there any music on? Let's see. Do we have any This is just background music. What about some? What does this sound like? Ooh. Let's do this. Feeding the Ducks. Actually, let me turn that up a little bit. Okay.
This is interesting.
This is
really
some good music.
Setting the mood.
This is setting the tone. Okay. All right. First team on the list. Your Milwaukee Bucks.
I would say. And do I get to know how many players, or is
there is just one player,
and
not
I
per
believe,
team, but if there are more, I will tell you.
Okay, I believe the player that is on the Bucks that played for the Pistons is Chris, not so Cash Money in the playoffs, Middleton.
Correct. Christopher Middleton
Okay.
played just one season with Detroit, 2012-2013. He had 6-1-1.
Wow.
So wasn't very good for Detroit.
Well,
but wasn't given a whole lot of time. I don't know. I guess it might have been a trade. I don't remember how we got rid of him. I'm assuming it was a trade of some sort because
maybe.
I don't imagine he walked in free agency. I don't know why we would sign a rookie to a 1-year deal.
Probably not.
So yeah, not very good with the Pistons, but a short amount of time he was there.
Okay.
So very good. Let me turn this a little bit. A little too. Okay.
Now we're getting too ahead of ourselves. There we go.
All right. The next team, the New York Knickerbockers.
This one's tripping me up a bit. I can't. There's somebody
you're gonna hate yourself.
Am
not
I
getting this one? I think. Or you're gonna be a little surprised. Or I don't know. I don't know how much you follow the Pistons.
Well, I mean, I follow the NBA quite a bit. Did he play in the playoffs for the Knicks?
No, I don't think so. He was not a starter.
I don't know. This is the only guy that comes to mind. I don't think I'm correct, but Isaiah Hartenstein.
No. At least that's not the one I listed. So to be clear, I could miss some people, but
I don't think
that is not the one I have listed.
Who was it?
It was one Derrick Rose. Played 2 seasons with the Pistons.
That's right.
Had 17 5 and 2. That's 5 assists, 2 rebounds.
Sure.
Wasn't a bad player for Detroit.
Yeah.
He played from 2019 and then half of the 2020-2021 season when he was traded.
Yep.
So he was there the following year after we made the playoffs.
That's right.
It was the last year until Troy Weaver took over, and then Troy Weaver ended up selling him off. I mean, he was already past his prime, obviously, at that point. Injuries completely derailed this guy's career.
Unfortunate.
But not a terrible player for the Pistons.
Yeah.
So, he had some fun moments, and obviously
I think so.
Now with the Knicks, not exactly putting up lights out numbers, but that's because he played 27 games this year and did not start a single one of them.
Correct.
So,
man, I kind of hate myself for that.
Now, to be fair, he didn't start many games with the Pistons.
Yeah.
But
still,
he was on the team.
I do remember that. Yes.
Yes. Up next, we have the Boston Celtics.
Are there multiple Celtics, or is there just one?
Just one. Just one for the Boston Celtics.
Okay, so then I do know who it is. I believe the Celtics player that you are speaking of is Mr. Blake, I now have a mustache, Griffin.
Correct. One Blake Griffin. Now, he was one of the few players on this list that was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Dare I say, with the Pistons. On one leg, mind you.
That was the other thing.
Mr. Griffin played 4 years with the Pistons, 4 seasons. Averaged 20, 5, and 6. That's 5 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good stuff. Led them to the playoffs. And in the playoffs, he had 24.5 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds. One of the better players and was an all-star for the Pistons in 2018-2019. Yeah. He was acquired from the Clippers in the 2017-2018 season via a trade, and he lasted with the Pistons, as said, for 4 seasons until in 2020-2021, he was traded to the Brooklyn Nets, who then let him go, and he has been thus picked up by the Celtics, where he is averaging an abysmal 1.5 and 3.
Wow.
Very poor numbers. You really hate to see it. When he was in his prime, he really was good.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were just talking about Lob City. He was an all-star every year from 2010 to 2015. And he didn't even play his first season because he was hurt.
That's right.
He really is one of the great players. I don't know where he would stand as far as potentially Hall of Fame. Obviously, he's never won, but 6 All-Stars and 5 All-NBAs and All-Rookie and Rookie of the Year. I mean,
he's probably going to
get in. I mean,
yep.
At the very least, he could get his number retired for the Clippers.
I think he will probably.
And, he was a very fun player. When he was here, obviously, he was past his prime, but he did have that one pretty good year.
Yep.
So that is that.
Okay.
But this one, I think you probably will get.
Okay.
From the Atlanta Hawks.
Why am I not getting this one?
Should be able to get this one.
Is he a starter?
No, not really. No.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna know who this is when you tell me, because I do not know who it is right now.
You're definitely gonna know. He's a relatively young player.
Okay. Man. Comes off the bench? Yeah, I don't know.
This would be one Sadiq Bey.
Oh.
Traded this year to the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
For the Pistons, he played 3 seasons, had 14.5 points, 2 assists, and 4 rebounds. So He was an all right young player. I kind of liked him. He really fell off this year.
Yeah.
In terms of his production. So the Troy Weaver-led Pistons said goodbye and shipped him off to Atlanta. And I don't know where his career is going to go at this point.
Who knows?
He could pop off. He could be just a journeyman. But
we'll see.
He was kind of a fun player. I believe he was all rookie. That's right, he was. He was all rookie, so could have something going for him. Has yet to get an all-star rep. But, he's a career right now 14-point-a-game player.
Okay.
But, moving on.
I said I didn't get that one either. Okay.
Moving on. So this is the one where they're the most. This is the Denver Nuggets. There are 4 former Pistons on the Denver Nuggets. So.
Okay. One of them is Bruce Brown.
That is correct.
Okay.
Bruce Brown. Let's pull up his stats. Bruce Brown spent just 2 seasons with Detroit. He averaged 6, 2, and 3.5. So not very good.
No.
Really not very good. After his 2 seasons, he went over to Brooklyn, I assume, again, in a trade or perhaps just a release. And then was picked up by Denver this year, where he's having a career year, averaging 11.5 points and 3 assists, 4 boards a game. So he is number 1.
There are 3 other guys on the Nuggets who
There are
used to
3 other guys on the Nuggets who played for the Pistons.
Was one of them KCP?
One of them was KCP. Contavious Caldwell Pope.
Okay.
Was actually, I remember when he was like on the Pistons.
Okay.
Because it was a decent amount of time ago. But he played for Detroit for 4 seasons, 11 points, 1.5 assists, and 3 boards a game. So again, not great numbers, not really blowing you away. After that, he moved over to the Lakers, where he won an NBA championship, and then was picked up by Washington the following year, and then was picked up by Denver the year after.
And a great pickup at that.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good year. His peak was mostly with the Pistons in terms of production, but yeah, he didn't stick around for that long. He missed out on the Pistons' playoff push in the late 2010s, but I always kind of liked him. I don't know why. I think it was just that his name is kind of fun.
Yeah,
but
I have no problems with him.
Yeah. Well, there's still 2 more guys.
And I can't think of them.
Now, to be fair, these guys don't get much playing time. But let's see if you know their roster.
I don't pay enough attention to their roster. Should I just throw... Because I don't know, but I'm just going to throw out one more name.
Okay.
Is Stanley Johnson on the Denver Nuggets?
He's not. He's currently playing for the Beijing Thundercats.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so who are the last 2?
One, Reggie Jackson is playing for the Nuggets. Reggie Jackson, of course, on the Detroit Pistons for 6 seasons. Was pretty good, actually. He was a decent player. 16 a game, 5 assists, 2 boards.
Okay.
Pretty good for the Pistons. Obviously was on the team in their playoff push of the mid to late 2010s. He was pretty good in the playoffs in 2018 and 2019 as well. 17 points, 7 assists, 3 boards a game. Obviously, we didn't win a single game thanks to your Milwaukee Bucks, but Reggie Jackson was pretty dang good. After he left Detroit, by the way, actually, we acquired him in a trade from the Oklahoma City Thunder. After he left Detroit, we traded him over to the Los Angeles Clippers, and they traded him over to the Denver Nuggets this year. So he's a new addition to the Denver Nuggets. Not a whole lot of production from him. He's obviously kind of past his prime. 7 points, 3 boards, and 3 assists and 1 board a game. Not a whole lot of playing time. He's only started a couple of games and he's played 16. I don't even know if he's played any games in the playoffs.
I don't think
he is. He has, but he is not even averaging a point. So doesn't get the ball a whole lot.
Well, there you go.
But the last one is one Ish Smith.
I've heard that name.
Yes.
Know
Ish
nothing about
Smith.
him, but I've heard the name.
He is a career journeyman if there ever was one. He has played for a total of this is an inordinate amount of guys. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, count them, 13 teams. 3 seasons he spent with Detroit. He averaged 9 points and 4.5 assists and 2 boards. He played originally, so this is crazy. So to start his rookie year, he was traded from the Rockets to the Grizzlies. That following season, the NBA, I guess he was released again. I don't really know how this worked. This is crazy. He was traded from the Golden State Warriors to the Orlando Magic. Once again, the following year, the Orlando Magic trade him to your Milwaukee Bucks. From there, he ended up with the Phoenix Suns for a season. The following year, he was traded from, I guess, somehow he got to the Oklahoma City Thunder and was traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. The following year, again, he was traded from the New Orleans Pelicans back to the Philadelphia 76ers. 2016, he was picked up by the Pistons and spent 3 years. Then he was picked up by the Wizards, spent a couple of years with them. Then he was traded from the Charlotte Hornets to the Washington Wizards and was then picked up the following year by the Denver Nuggets.
Wow.
Yeah. He has seen his fair share. His basketball reference page, like a clean set of jerseys here. And he's at basically every number, apparently. I mean, he was number 13, number 5, number 12, number 10. He was number 15 for your Milwaukee Bucks. He was number 3, number 8, number 5, number 4. He was number 1, number 14 with the Detroit Pistons, number 14 again with the Wizards, number 10, number 4, and then back to number 14.
Very interesting.
Yeah, he's had quite the career. I mean, not great. He's not a very good player, but he has had.
He's been everywhere.
He's played for basically every team.
Yeah, pretty much.
Moving on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And no, it is not Dylan Brooks.
Unfortunate.
I know he doesn't play for the Timberwolves, but
he might. Is Taurean Prince on the Timberwolves, Mike?
If he is, he's not the one that's on this list.
Okay. He was there at one point.
With Detroit?
For Minnesota, I think.
Yeah, but he never played for Detroit. He's on Minnesota. He never played for Detroit. Is he related to Tayshaun? No, definitely not.
I don't think so.
No.
I thought that's weird. Okay. I could have sworn Taurean played for the Pistons.
This is another relatively young player.
Okay. So I'm gonna guess he. Last time you said he was relatively young. It was Sadiq Bey, who's in his junior season, third season.
He was taken in the 2020 draft.
Okay.
Because 21 was Cade, 22 was Ivy.
Let's see here. Who's a young player on the Timberwolves?
He does not get a whole lot of playing time. He's not a starter.
Okay. Then in that case, I got no idea.
Well, you probably do know this player, but not in the NBA. Former Big Ten Player of the Year for the University of Iowa Hawkeyes, one Luka Garza.
I do know that name.
Garzilla played one
Really?
season with Detroit,
Okay.
averaged 5 points, half an assist, and 3 boards a game.
Wow.
Needless to say, he was terrible. Very, very bad. Did not transition well into the NBA. Obviously, us Michigan State fans, we are well aware of Luka Garza and just how good he was for the University of Iowa. But was not a very good NBA player. Just goes to show you can be very good in college, but you will get destroyed in the NBA.
Yes.
But after spending just 1 year with the Pistons, he was picked up by the Minnesota Timberwolves. I believe he also spent a little bit of time. Don't have any basketball reference stuff, but I think he was on the Trailblazers for like 30 seconds.
And then they just
released him, and Minnesota picked him up, and he's just a bench player. He never started a single game. He's actually having a better year, but granted, much smaller sample size.
Yeah.
6.5 points, same amount of assists, slightly less rebounds. So maybe it evens out.
Maybe.
But funny enough, he actually started for the Pistons. He started 5 games, 12.2 minutes per game.
Wow.
So he was not like, he was for like a small sliver of time. There were some people who were like, hey, maybe we got something here. And no, we did not. In fact, we had nothing.
No.
That was the idea.
Not with,
No. Moving on to the Phoenix Suns.
There's somebody on the Sun, dude.
Yes.
You guys have too many players everywhere in the league.
But we are the league's farm system.
Well, that's true. Has he played at all in the playoffs?
No. I mean, I don't think so, at least.
Does he play at all for the Suns?
He started 1 game.
Big man or guard?
He plays the point guard position.
It's not campaign. Or is it?
No, it's not.
No.
This is going to be a name that when you hear it, you're not going to be upset. You're just going to be like, oh, yeah. Like, him.
Okay. Then in that case, I don't know who it is.
One Saban Lee. Saban Lee spent 2 seasons with the Pistons. He had 5.6 points. In 3 assists and 2 boards a game. After his 2 seasons with the Pistons, he was traded from the Philadelphia 76ers to the Phoenix Suns.
Interesting.
Yeah. Not a very good player, but a former Piston nonetheless. He was another guy like Luka Garza where people were like, oh, maybe we got something here. No.
And then no.
We definitely don't.
No.
Up next, the Los Angeles Clippers.
Well, I was going to say Reggie Jackson, but apparently he got traded.
No, he is no longer on the Clippers.
Let's see. I have no clue. What position did he play?
He is a center.
Is he... There's one name that comes to my mind when you say center. I don't know if he played for the Pistons, though. We're going to go out on a limb here, and we're going to say Mason Plumlee.
Correct! Mason Plumlee.
Wow.
Played for the Pistons for 1 season.
Okay.
Probably his best season.
There you go.
He had 10 points, 3 assists, and 9 boards.
Okay.
He was not terrible.
Pretty average.
Mason Plumlee's history, he started with the Brooklyn Nets, was picked up by the Portland Trailblazers, where he was then the following year traded to the Denver Nuggets, spent some time there, picked up by the Pistons, then picked up by the Charlotte Hornets, and then this year the Charlotte Hornets traded him to the Los Angeles Clippers. He doesn't get a whole lot of playing time, and he's just sort of a perennial close to 10 points a game kind of guy. But he had a pretty good season with the Pistons, which is why the Hornets thought maybe they could pick him up, and didn't really work out. The only stat he has ever led the NBA in is games.
Wow.
So he has played 82 games.
That's pretty
two
cool.
times in his career. One with Portland and one with Denver.
Very nice.
So, yeah. Mason Plumlee, Pistons legend.
All right.
Up next, the Sacramento Kings.
Well, why am I blanking? You're smiling like I should know this person.
I think you should, but he's not like he's not a great player. But you do know who this player is. Probably through me, if anything. That's how you learn. This is how you learn about all the bad players.
Well, yeah, I just learned about Pistons players. Yeah.
You just ask me. I'll tell you any player on our roster, some irrelevant guy, some player that nobody's heard of. That
Is Trey Lyles still on the Kings?
Trey Lyles is still on the Kings. He played one season. Actually, not even a full season. He played half a season in Detroit, where he averaged 10 points, 1 assist, and 4 boards. Again, wasn't terrible. Before that, he played a couple of seasons for the Utah Jazz, then was picked up by the Denver Nuggets, then the San Antonio Spurs, and then we picked him up, and that very year traded him over to the Sacramento Kings, where he has played now for 2 seasons.
Interesting.
Not a terrible player. We ended up acquiring, I believe, Marvin Bagley in that trade.
That sounds about right to me.
Not exact. We did. If anything, nothing changed with that.
Yeah.
Trade. We could have kept Trey Lyles, and we would have been about as well.
Yeah, maybe a little bit better with Marvin Bagley, but
yeah. Well, one can only hope.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Up next, we have the Memphis Grizzlies.
Dylan Brooks. Oh wait, that hasn't.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Now this one I think you should know.
He doesn't. I'm assuming he doesn't start.
No, he does not.
Is he like pretty common off the bench?
Yeah, I think he's decently common. He gets about like 25 minutes a game.
Huh. What's the position?
He is a shooting guard.
I have one name. Don't know if he's ever played for the Pistons though. Is it
Oh.
Tyus Jones?
It is not Tyus Jones.
Okay.
Would you like the answer?
I would, yeah.
It is one Luke Kennard.
Oh.
Pistons
I
legend
forgot.
of the
Yeah,
late
I forgot he's over
2010s. He spent 3 seasons with Detroit, averaged 9, 2, and 2.
Wow.
Not very good,
Well,
Seth. Not very good at all. But he was on the playoff roster in 2018-2019. So, in that series, he was actually pretty dang good. Like,
okay.
I most of these guys I've said are like okay. No. He had a 60% 3-point percentage. He averaged 15 points a game, an assist a game, and 4 boards a game, while shooting 60%, leading the league in 3-point percentage in the playoffs.
For 4 games, but
For 4 games, he shot 60%.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
that's pretty good.
He shot better from 3 than he did from 2.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that was, I think, part of the reason why Pistons fans decided to keep him along after that year. And he was pretty good the following year.
Yeah.
15 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds. Following year, we just let him go. We were selling off assets while Troy Weaver got here. Picked up by the Los Angeles Clippers. He played a few seasons there. And this year was traded to the Memphis Grizzlies.
That's right.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Final one. And this one is an actually notable player for the Pistons. From the Chicago Bulls.
I was going to say, there was one guy who I was waiting for, and this one is Andre Drummond.
That is correct. Easily the best player on this list. One Andre Drummond. And the fact that he is the best player on this list goes to show you just how bad the Pistons were post going to work.
Correct.
But to give Andre Drummond credit, spent 8 seasons with the Pistons, 14 points a game, an assist a game, and 13 boards a game. He was absolutely unbelievable at getting rebounds for the Pistons.
Yes, he was.
Led the league on multiple occasions with the Pistons. 14 rebounds in 2015-2016. 16 rebounds in 2017-2018. 15 boards in 2018-2019. 15 boards again in 2019-2020.
Crazy.
I mean, he was a solid player. I mean, a 4-time NBA or a 4-time rebound champion, all NBA, all rookie, 2-time All-Star, both with the Pistons. But he just had something about him. He just didn't have it. He didn't have, as they say, that dog in him. And that was really the epitome of the Pistons of the late 2010s. In the playoffs, again, he was pretty good. Led the league in rebounds in the playoffs in 2018-2019 with 13. 14 points a game that year, 16 points the prior playoff appearance. He was not a bad player by any means. After we got rid of him in 2019-2020, he was traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers.
That's right.
The year after, the Cavaliers traded him over to the Los Angeles Lakers. The year after that, he was traded to he was traded from the Philadelphia 76ers to the Brooklyn Nets, and this year was picked up by the Chicago Bulls.
Yes.
Plays the center position, and Andre Drummond, I feel nothing towards him, if not animosity, because he just has this, like, he's just got something about him. I just don't like him. Like, he's just
That's understandable.
He just wasn't ever that guy, and it sucks because if he put a little bit of effort into his work, if he had a little bit of work ethic, he could have been something for us. We saw the glimmers, and it just never came to be. Yeah. So that was the former Pistons on the playoff team rosters. I think what this list goes to show, the Pistons have had some terrible ass players. We've had, I mean, looking at this list, all of the players that we had, and I mean at the time we had them. I'm not going to count Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is a Hall of Famer. Like, that's obviously 100%. Derrick Rose and Blake Griffin. That almost certainly both those guys, you could make the argument for the Hall of Fame. Yeah, that's not the rest of these guys. I don't know. Probably not. Like, probably not. I mean, Chris Middleton, probably not a Hall of Famer. Sorry. Sadiq Bey, I guess we'll see, but probably not. He's not on the trajectory. Bruce Brown, no. KCP, no. Reggie Jackson, no. Ish Smith, I mean, in our hearts. In our hearts.
Ish Smith will be there.
Yes. Garzilla, if he's in the Hall of Fame, I'm in the Hall of Fame.
That's true.
Saban Lee, no.
Same.
Plumlee, no. Lyles, no. Kennard, no. Drummond, again, he's more borderline, but no. he's not good enough. He's totally fumed out. Like he's flamed out in horrible fashion. But
correct.
That was our little segment. That was fun, wasn't it? We got to go through memory lane. So many great Pistons legends.
Oh yeah. I don't think I did as bad as I thought I was.
Oh, the Tigers have loaded the bases with 2 outs. Top of the fourth, no score. Interesting. Want to talk about some baseball, Mr. Seth? Want to talk some ball?
I don't necessarily want to, but
let's talk about it.
It's the next segment. Why not?
Let's talk about it. Okay. So I need you to tell me about what's going on in San Diego.
We're trash. I don't know. We are beating the Washington Nationals 3-0
Well,
at the bottom of the 5th.
That's something that the Tigers couldn't do, so you got that going for you.
It's something. But 21-26 does not look good for this roster.
I don't understand why.
I don't either. Because to be quite honest with you, we should be, in my humble opinion, on par with the Dodgers, Braves, or all these teams that are playing quite well. The Diamondbacks.
They're
Absolutely.
28-20. They're only 1.5 games out of first. The Padres right now, they're sitting 8 games back. They are 21-26, a 447 win percentage, and the Tigers just grounded out.
Yeah,
that is
Tigers. And
that
the
is
Padres
shocking.
Have the same wins.
That was where I was going to go with this.
They have the same win total.
Right now, who's the better team?
On paper,
it's the Padres. Obvious. Anybody like Juan Soto, Tatis, Machado, Snell. Come on.
But in real life,
in practice, the Tigers have a better record.
Yep.
And they're much closer in their division. Now, granted, the AL Central is a dumpster fire.
Well,
but the Tigers do have a better win percentage. They're 21-24.
Mm-hmm.
And they're 5-5 in their last 10. The Padres are 2-8 in their last 10. They did win yesterday. The Tigers also won yesterday. Run differential for the Tigers is -48. The Padres is -8. So they're not giving up a whole lot of runs.
They don't.
They're playing pretty.
They play
well in that regard.
Yeah, they just can't. They can't finish games. And I wish I knew why. I mean, really
like you look at their record, so they play like average in every way, or a slightly below average. So they're 12-15 at home. They're 9-11 on the road. They're 13-19 against teams above 500. That's like, it doesn't. You can't point to anything there and be like, okay, that's their strength. Like, I mean, you look at the Giants, right? The Giants are 23-24. They're not very good.
No,
but they're 15-11 at home.
So
and they don't play, and they're 13-14 against teams above 500. So they play a little bad against teams that are like winning teams, but they play pretty bad on the road. But they're good at home.
Yeah.
The Padres, it's like,
Yeah.
Like,
and I wish I could give you a concrete reason. Oh, by the way, the score just updated. It's now 3-2 Padres. Nationals just got 2 runs.
He's still holding on to the lead.
Yeah, well, that's
something. There's this weird phenomenon going on in the baseball world. I mean, the Mets also off to a slow start. Granted, not as slow as the Padres, 25-23, and they've won 7 out of their last 10, 5 in a row. I mean, that is all it takes. But obviously, the thing is, though, for the Padres, you kind of have to be buyers at the deadline. Like, you're not in the position to be selling off assets. You spent all this money. You spent like $1 billion to bring in all these free agents and to sign Juan Soto and Tatis and what's his name? Bogarts.
Yeah, Xander Bogarts. Yeah,
like a lot of great players. And I look at the Tigers, who have nobody. I mean, like, our best player is Eduardo Rodriguez, and he will be dealt before the All-Star break. He's pitching a pretty good game so far right now. He's one of the best pitchers in the American League. He's in the running for the Cy Young as it stands. But I mean, they're playing I think I talked about this the last show that you were on. They're playing a respectable brand of baseball. They're not getting crushed every game. Sometimes they do. They're not beating themselves. They're losing, but they're not, playing terrible. They're not like last year where they were just embarrassing to watch. And it's like the Padres, I just don't know why they're this bad. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if it's pitching. I don't know if you need another bat. I don't know how you could add another bat to that lineup. I mean, That's
really
like
don't
murderer's
think
row. Like I don't.
seriously, I don't think a bat is the answer, to be honest with you.
And as I complimented Eduardo Rodriguez, the Royals have just taken a 1-0 lead on an
Well, there you
RBI
go.
triple.
Yeah.
So that's not good. Michael
Yeah, and,
Massey.
you
Or
know,
no, a double, excuse me.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I think there's got to be something. I don't know if it's because like the sign, like Bogarts isn't meshing well, but that's like one guy.
Yeah.
It's like there shouldn't. I don't know. And the unfortunate thing is where we play. You can't have this slow of a start.
No, because the Dodgers are going to run away with that division, and then you're playing in the wild card, and then it's single game elimination. Anything can happen.
Yep.
Look at the Mets last year. The Mets could have had something, but they had to play in the wild card, and they met a red hot Padres team.
Yep, and it worked out for us at that point in the year last year.
And the thing is, I mean, in terms of talking about that division, there's recently a tweet by Fox Sports MLB giving the records by the divisions.
Mm-hmm.
So the NL West has a total division record of 122 and 117. So
yeah,
pretty good teams are in the NL West.
For sure.
I want to compare that with the AL Central. So the rest of the league, you have the AL East on top, 146 and 95. It's easily the best division in baseball.
Yeah.
The NL East, 120 and 117. The NL Central, 111 and 125. The AL West, 116 and 123, and most of those are from the A's.
Yes.
The AL Central, 100 and 138. We just cracked 100 wins across 5 teams.
Yeah.
And I put this in the show notes. The AL Central needs to be just dismantled. It's just, and it's not just that the teams right now are bad. They've always been bad. This division was always not good.
Yeah.
Do you know how many World Series champions have come from the AL Central?
Why don't you tell me, Mike?
2 World Series champions out of the AL Central.
Well,
the Chicago White Sox in 2005 or 7. I think it was 2005. And the Kansas City Royals in 2015. Those teams are in last place in our division. And we're currently losing to the Kansas City Royals. Good afternoon.
Well.
But those are the 2 teams that have won championships. The Tigers have been to 2 World Series. The Guardians, then the Indians have been to a World Series. The Twins haven't gotten out of the first round. And all of these teams have all won World Series at some point. The Cleveland baseball team hasn't won one since before World War II. But, mistakes were made. Yeah. They at least made the World Series, right?
Yes.
They made it relatively recently, and I guess so did the Tigers. But I just I was like, what do you even do when a division is this bad? Do you kind of want to break it up, but then you're like, well, if you say put the Yankees in this division, well, they're just going to destroy the division. They're just going to run it completely. And so it's difficult because obviously there's always going to be a bad division. Every year in sports, we see this.
Yeah.
In football, we see this. In baseball, we certainly see this. In hockey's a little bit interesting because the divisions don't really matter as much. Same with basketball.
Yeah.
But there's usually a division that if you were to stack it up next to one another, you'll say, yeah, this is the worst. This is the worst division. But usually it kind of flips. Usually it's like swing states in an election, right? You're not getting the same swing states every year. You're getting new ones. Divisions change. Teams are rebuilding, and maybe sometimes they coincide their rebuilds at the same time, and then teams kind of take charge. Like the NFC East this past year, NFC East was really good. You had the Eagles, you had the Cowboys, you had the Giants, all playoff teams. The Commanders, well, they had poop coming out of their their seats.
That's a minor detail. But still 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4 good teams, and just a few years prior, they were the NFC least. Right? Yeah. People were making fun of them. The Commanders, then the football team, were, 7-9 making the playoffs. Yeah. And then this past year, you had the AFC South, which was terrible. Like
That's right.
The Jaguars won their division with the same record that the Lions had this year, and the Lions finished in third or in second.
Yeah.
Like there's changes. Like just a few years prior, the Titans were monsters. Even the Texans a few years prior, believe it or not, were actually very good. Like
yeah, and
so it changes. And I know the NFL is the king of parity, and it's not necessarily comparable, but I just look at all these teams. I mean, like the Padres were not good a few years ago. The Diamondbacks weren't. The Rangers weren't. The Mariners weren't. It's just the Central that has remained having 5 bad teams. Like the Guardians can never put it together. The Twins are the Twins. The White Sox are a laughingstock. The Royals are cheap as dirt, and the Tigers are the Tigers. They're in the never-ending rebuild that Al Avila started, and now they have to start over again.
They're a Detroit team.
That's right. They are a Detroit team.
You just can't. It's the curse they live with.
I don't know why, and obviously right now the Tigers are playing close to 500 ball. They're not winning right now. This is just like a curse. Every time we do a show and the Tigers are playing, they always lose. They always lose.
It's a sign.
I think it's like every Tuesday. I should just bet against the Tigers.
I think so.
They could still win this series. They got a game tomorrow night, but it's just like, why can't they just win when I'm here? That would be nice.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. And I think it's just a shame that, the Padres are as bad as they are, because I was really hoping for the Padres this year. I was hoping maybe one of our teams could be exciting.
Yes.
Have some, because the problem is, here's my fear, right? My fear is we're entering late July, early August. Basically, all sports news is dead. Mm-hmm. And we have just our baseball teams to talk about. Now, granted, we might have some stuff to talk about with the trade deadline with the Tigers, because I'm sure they're going to be dealers. And perhaps even the Padres will be buyers. But my hope is that they're good. My hope is that they're making news, and we can talk about them as a World Series favorite, or to make the playoffs, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
It's
and who knows? Maybe for, obviously 2-8 in the last 10, maybe the next 10.
8-2.
It's maybe not 8-2, but still just up from 2-8. I think, which it sucks in the division that we're in. Like I said, you cannot have a slow start.
Nope.
Obviously, there's a lot of games left.
Yep, 162 games. We're just wrapping up the second month.
So, there's still a possibility for things to pick up, but I think it's going to come back and bite us in the ass with this slow start.
Mm-hmm. You can't get yourself into a hole. This is one of the things that is frustrating about especially like these teams that are kind of in the colder weather areas, is sometimes people will say, well, the hitting starts to really heat up once the weather gets nice. It's like, that could happen. But the problem is you're getting yourself in a hole right now. You're basically not going to dig yourself out. I mean, the Tigers got themselves in a hole, and look, they're probably not going to dig themselves out. Not that anybody expected them to, but if they don't get themselves in that hole, they could be in first place in this division. But they instead started, 9-200 or something like that. They weren't that bad.
Well, still,
it was like 4-10 or something like that. It was something very not great. Like, and that's how quickly your season can end. Mm-hmm. Like if you feel like your season is over in April or May, I mean, you're usually right. Like you're usually correct.
Yeah. It's the sport of baseball.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I'll be rooting for the Padres, hopefully, as my Tigers are trailing 3-0 to a team that has 14 wins. Good to know.
We're tied with the Nationals now, so
don't worry, they beat us. They have 20 wins. They're about as good as us.
Oh, perfect. Well, yeah.
I'm looking forward to the weekend where we play each other, so that if the Tigers win, I can just rub it into your face.
And I can just sit here and just.
I mean, because if the Padres beat the Tigers, it's like whatever. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like that's just how it goes, right? Juan Soto hit another home run.
That's how it should go.
And by then, we won't even have Eduardo Rodriguez.
Well, there you go.
Maybe Tarek Skubal might be back from injury. His shoulder might work again.
Well, there you go.
And maybe, I don't know, maybe we might not even be rid of Eduardo Rodriguez if he keeps pitching the way that he's pitching.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. People will buy him. He's got an opt-out. We'll probably shop him. Some team will buy him.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Unless he would have to have like catastrophic failure.
It's true.
But yeah. So Major League Baseball,
Yeah.
both of our teams are actually in very similar situations, but the fact that they were in similar situations is more of an indictment against the Padres and more of an endorsement for the Tigers.
Correct.
Actually, it was a minor league move, but the Tigers made a trade with the Marlins. Some minor league guy, I think Brady Allen or something is that like that.
Okay.
I don't really care. Like I mean, it's like we traded a 30-year-old minor leaguer for a 23-year-old minor leaguer. Big deal.
There you go.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, maybe it'll work out, but ultimately we'll see if Scott Harris is the guy. I think what right now he's dealing with is a team that just kind of sucks, and he'll have to sell off as many assets as he can and draft well and hope that his trades worked out.
Yep.
But he's made some good trades initially, so I don't know. We'll see.
We'll have to find out. It's a waiting game.
Maybe Eduardo Rodriguez will be a Padre.
Ooh.
You could use another lefty in that lineup, right?
Well,
you could.
Who do you guys want?
Well, you guys have a terrible farm system, so I'll take Juan Soto if you're.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a good deal.
I think it's a good deal, yeah.
All right, cool. The 1-to-1 trade, Eduardo Rodriguez for Juan Soto. You heard it here first, folks.
1-to-1.
But I guess I wanted to wrap it up a little bit with some. Let's get a little hockey in here so that I can try to explain to Seth what's going on in the NHL playoffs.
Exactly.
But the Panthers right now one win away from being in the Cup. The Knights have a chance to go up 3-0. I don't know what's going on in that game right now. I can pull up the score. Knights.
They're up 3-0.
They're up 3-0
in the first period.
Wow. That is okay.
Yeah.
So the Knights look like they're going to go up 3-0. Neither of these teams have won a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
And I think that to me is like the beauty of the NHL.
Yep.
I mean, obviously right now with the Nuggets, we're seeing a team that potentially has never win a cup. But the Knights are an expansion team from just a few years ago.
I know.
And they're basically perennial Stanley Cup contenders. I mean,
which is pretty crazy.
Pretty nuts for an expansion team. The Panthers were also an expansion team in the 90s, I believe.
Okay.
They've been to a Stanley Cup. They played against the Colorado Avalanche decades ago. They didn't win, obviously.
Well,
but I don't know if you've caught any of these NHL playoffs. They've been pretty fun.
Okay.
These particular series are, kind of take it or leave it just because it's pretty one-sided.
Sure.
But I think if we have two one-sided conference finals, I think that indicates to me we're going to have a pretty good Stanley Cup final.
I think so. I think that's a good bet, I'd say.
Now, the real question is, Seth, can you name but a single player on the Panthers?
No.
Okay. Matthew Tkachuk. That's no idea who that is.
That sounds familiar.
Bobrovsky. No, not a clue.
Not Bobrovsky.
Okay.
But
we'll have to get you more into hockey. Speaking of hockey players, though, the Maple Leafs, Toronto Maple Leafs, they fired their general manager, Dubas. I don't remember what his first name is. I just wrote Dubas because I didn't want to put his first name in. Dubas, their GM, is fired, and it made me think my Red Wings got a big old war chest in their arsenal. They got draft picks, they got prospects.
Sure.
And the Leafs have 3 guys that I am eyeing. Number 1 is Mr. William Nylander.
Sure.
William Nylander. Let's pull him up on Hockey Reference.
Of course.
William Nylander this year, a 40-goal scorer, 87 points, 47 assists, a +10 player.
Okay.
Really solid center, right-handed center.
Ooh.
Shoots on the righty out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Wow.
27 years old. He could be a trade target.
I think so.
For sure. And the other we have on the option, Mr. Mitch Marner. 99 points this year, 30 goals, 69 assists, and plus 18 player, 26 years old. I would probably prefer Marner over Nylander.
Yeah, sure.
Any of these players I'm okay with.
Well, yeah.
But the other thing, though, that I wanted to allude to as well is, your Ducks could make a move for these guys. I know they weren't very good, but
Yeah.
they have Trevor Zegras. They have something that they can build off of. I don't know how many draft picks they have. I don't know how. I don't know if you have done any research on them.
But I can
as
look
it stands
real quick
right
and
now,
see
if they have some options.
Yeah.
I mean, you add a guy like this to your team, it really is a difference maker because the Red Wings have been looking for a big goal scorer. I don't know if the Ducks will bite on this because they have Trevor Zegras, who is a big-time goal scorer already. Like Trevor Zegras this year, he was 65 points, 23 goals, 42 assists. But he's on the up and up. I mean, he's already 139 points in his career.
Sure.
He's close to 50 goals, close to 100 assists. But the one that really has my attention on for getting this offseason, this is a guy you probably heard of. It's Austin Matthews. I mean,
I've heard the name.
He is one of the best players in hockey. This year, 85 points, and that was a down year for him. He had 40 goals, insane. 45 assists, plus 31 player on the ice. He's a two-time All-Star. 2021, 2022 Hart Trophy winner, all rookie, Calder Trophy, two-time Richard Trophy winner, Ted Lindsay Award winner. He is like a brand name guy. I mean, if it wasn't for John Tavares, their captain, he probably would be their captain. And the Red Wings are desperate for these goal scorers. And if you can get a 40 goal scorer, like right now, I mean, the Leafs are just in sort of disarray. They fire their general manager. No, everybody's basically on the board because Matthews was gonna. The thing is Matthews, he's gonna have to sign a contract, because he's like due for that. So if we trade for him, we're gonna have to pay him. Right now, his current this is unbelievable. His current salary is $750,000, and he's a 40 goal scorer like perennially.
That's crazy.
Which is funny because I understand people will say like he's totally underpaid. It's like that's way more money than I will ever see probably, but that's fine. But I mean like he's unbelievable. I mean the guy.
Yeah.
Last year he had 106 points. The year prior 66, 8. Like it's like he's just constantly like he led the league in goals last year. 60 goals. 60 freaking goals. The year prior in a shortened season. 41 goals.
Yeah.
His rookie year, he had 40 goals.
That's insane. As a rookie,
you don't usually get to 40 goals. No. I mean, Lucas Raymond, who's a solid player for the Red Wings right now, he was all rookie his rookie year. He had 23 goals. Which was pretty good. He was a 57-point player as a rookie. And Austin Matthews out of the gate. I mean, granted, first overall pick, and he was a big name prospect. He was like Connor Bedard was back in 2016. And he has lived up to it. And my thing is, we have the war chest. I don't want to pick at 9. I really don't. I don't think anybody that would be available at 9 is worth the pick when you can go and get a guy like Austin Matthews or even like Mitch Marner or William Nylander. Thing is, you're probably going to have to give up some guys. Certainly, you're going to have to give up the draft picks, which I'm fine with. But you're probably going to have to give a prospect or two just to satisfy Toronto.
Yep.
I think if Steve Yzerman, the general manager, makes this move, I think that immediately moves the Wings into, for one, playoff contention.
Sure.
And secondly, it might even move them to be a sneaky push, maybe not a Stanley Cup team, but certainly a team that can make a run. And I don't know where the Ducks stand on this. You were doing some duck related research. What's the situation over in the greater Anaheim area?
As far as our picks that we have upcoming, we have our first round pick this year, and then we traded away. We had I guess we had 3 in the second round. We now only have 1. The Bruins and the Avalanche have 2 of the 3.
Oh.
And then the Wild we did have 2. We traded away a third. So now we have 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, and then 1 in the sixth this year.
Okay.
Looking ahead in the future, we have another first round, obviously first round.
Yeah.
1 more second, 1 more third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So there hasn't been any as far as the upcoming ones, we've traded with teams, but it seems like we still have some possibilities. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I mean, you have some guys on your roster that you could probably add. You could probably add a Troy Terry, 61 points this year, 25 years old.
Package deal.
Some teams will buy on that.
Yeah.
Even a Mason McTavish, 43 points, 17 goals, 20 years old. So maybe you keep him just because he's young.
It's the upside, sure.
But
it's hard to say. I don't know the NHL trading.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably initially it'll probably look like an overpay.
Initially, yeah, I think.
But that's because you have to give up a lot for a player of the caliber of Austin Matthews. And
what the Caps have.
Obviously, the package in my mind that I'm thinking for Austin Matthews for the Red Wings, it's probably our first round picks this year. Lucas Raymond, Jonathan Berggren, maybe a prospect, and probably a draft pick in the following year or sometime in the future. So for one guy, and you look at that and you're like, whoa, that's a lot. But it's he's a 40 goal scorer. You can take Jonathan Berggren, and I like Jonathan Berggren. I like Lucas Raymond, both probably decent players. But
for what you're getting,
you've got to make the move, especially right now. I mean, Steve Yzerman has been here since 2019. We've got to do something. We've got to make a push for the playoffs. We sold at the deadline this year. And it was the right move. I liked that he did it because we were not going to go anywhere in the playoffs. But I think we could pick up the phone, right? Just make the call. Say, and the thing is right now, they don't have a GM. So whoever is the acting GM,
you have to, you
might be able to kind of be like, hey, hey, I really think you should do this for us. They're probably not that stupid, but they're probably not as smart as the guy that was just in charge, right?
Correct.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Red Wings. I think next year they will be a playoff team. I've talked about this before.
Okay.
I think their prospect pool is too deep. I think that, look at that. The Tigers just scored a run. Very nice.
Very nice.
Was that Javi Baez, I think, on the base hit? Yes, it was. Look at Harvey. Harvey Baez. Look at him. He's feeling himself. 3-1. Royals still on top. But was that Edwin Diaz? Or no, not Edwin Diaz. He plays for the Mets. Oh, no, never mind. There was a guy who pitches for the Royals that had a little rivalry with Javi Baez, and I thought he just got a hit off of him, which would have been funny.
Oh, well.
But anyway. So yeah, I wanted to just drop that little NHL. Yeah. Just a little hockey talk.
Yeah,
we'll get a little bit more hockey talk as the Cup playoffs continue.
Sure.
And then once the offseason begins, because I think there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. Ah, dang. That was a really nice hit by Torque, but it went right into the guy's glove. Oh, well. At least we struck some blood. So, yeah. I think both our teams are probably going to be making some moves in the offseason. Probably.
I hope so.
If I would guess, I think the Red Wings are going to be making the bigger moves than the Ducks, but the Ducks will certainly be making some moves because, well, they did not play very well this year.
It's in rebuild mode.
But Zegras is a good player. He'll probably be, I mean, if he's not already the face of the team, he probably will become that
eventually.
You put a story in here just to
Yes.
wrap up the show.
Yep.
Keon Coleman,
Yes.
our good friend from
Our
the
buddy.
Free Press, Keon Coleman transferring over to Florida State, which I believe you said a couple of weeks ago on this very show. You said that
there
you
you
thought
go.
he was going to Florida State, and he is.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what are our initial thoughts here as far as like I
As
think
far
he's
as
going to do.
MSU's outlook,
I
or
mean,
his
like, yeah,
look
like
on
right now, I
FSU?
guess we kind of knew that he was gone. So
Yeah.
this doesn't really change much for me,
Mhm.
other than, I mean, I hope
just a-
Florida State is fine. I guess I don't really.
I mean, from what I hear, and it doesn't change for me either as far as MSU's outlook. With just a bunch of what ifs, as we talked about, 2 weeks ago. But
Yeah.
I think FSU will, from what I've heard about their receiver room, there is nobody that's a receiver on Florida State that is under 6 foot. So they have
They just got a bunch of
maybe
Calvin Johnsons on their team.
seriously, like Keon Coleman, I think is
He was a
the
basketball
second
player.
tall. He was, and I think he is the second tallest receiver on Florida State. I think they have a
Keon
couple of
Coleman
guys
is
who are
6'4".
yeah. So he's 6'4". They have a couple guys. He might be the tallest. I don't know, but all I know is that they have a very tall receiver room, very tall tight end room. From some of the stuff that I was seeing about college football, you know, discussions. So I think Florida State's going to have a very good offense over there
Yeah.
in the old ACC.
Yeah, I mean, Coleman was a really solid player for us
He
last
was-
year. 7 touchdowns, nearly
Yeah, he
800
had
yards, average 13
Yeah,
per catch.
and I mean he had a great year, I think.
He had
but,
a good year, and
just on a
I
crappy
think
team.
yeah, I mean, he's probably gonna do better for them.
I think he's gonna have a good year. I think.
But I mean, either way, it's just we talked about Michigan State a little bit, and it's just kind of like
It's a bunch of what ifs.
yeah, I mean, you just don't really know. Like maybe they'll be okay, but I mean,
it's
unfortunate seeing Keon go. But I don't really know.
Yeah.
Like we said, our calculation was basically the same whether he was staying or not. Honestly, like it's a loss, I guess, but like we weren't winning a whole lot with him, so I couldn't imagine even if we lose him that.
Yeah, and I mean losing him,
lose a bunch of wins, like unless we go like 3-9 or something. Then if we go 3-9, then you got to fire Tucker.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
I mean, yeah, I think losing him and Peyton Thorne to Auburn, I don't think that's gonna honestly change the outlook a whole lot.
Yeah.
I still think, and I'm still hopeful that we finish and we have a similar. I'm okay with maybe. Well, I'm actually not okay with a one less win, but I'm hoping it's around that 5-7 mark. I really do. I think we're capable.
You think that? I think we gotta have a little. We have to be better. I think. I mean, whether or not we will be better, I think we kind of have to be better. Like
I think you have to be, but I think it's hard to say if we will be. Because
it's hard.
Of all
Yeah,
the
right.
Because we have guys who have never started in games.
Yeah.
Noah Kim at quarterback. Like all these younger guys at receiver. I mean, we still have Trey Mosley and like Montori Foster and stuff, but like they never. It was always Jaden Reed and Keon Coleman, and some of Trey Mosley.
Problem we find ourselves in is that there is kind of now a built-in excuse because we lost all these guys. It's like, well, what were you doing recruiting for the past 3 years? Like,
yeah, you should be like set because
your
they're going
job,
to
like
anyway.
Yeah, right. Like we should be getting your guys in at this point, whether through
Right.
transfers or through the
And I
recruiting
think
that you did. And all like I get it, all
kinda
these
starting.
decommits, like
Yeah.
but like what decommits out of a total of however many guys were even recruited to begin with. Like
Yeah.
they get the big story because it's like Michigan State's a big school and
Mhm.
Mel Tucker's a big figure, both figuratively and literally.
Uh-huh.
How big is he? And not fat. I mean like tall. He looks like he's he's not like he doesn't look short.
Well,
Let me see height. I don't know if it's
is it even listed?
doesn't look like it. He played football in high
Mhm.
school. and he played football for Wisconsin. It says 6'3" on this random website.
That's
His
pretty tall
NFL
guy.
stats put him at 6'2".
Okay.
Pro
So
Football Archive.
he's 6 foot plus. So he's
a big guy.
6'1" plus.
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
He's a bigger fella.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hey, look at that. Padres are now up 7-3 on the Nationals.
Well, the Tigers are down 4-1, so that's good. Erod, back-to-back poor starts.
Yeah.
Not, Not looking good for his trade value.
But
maybe the Cardinals will bite.
Exactly. But anyway, so yeah, I think as far as MSU goes, it's still a lot of what ifs. But I think Keon Coleman is he's gonna be good on Florida State, and I think that really, if he does what I think he will, even though he won't be an MSU, person when he goes to the draft, I think he'll enter the draft and teams will look at him because he is his build. He's like 6'4", 200 something or whatever.
He's definitely at least a late round pick.
He's gonna be picked
his
one or two.
His athletic ability and his size is just teams are going to
can't
bite
pass
on
that.
him.
Yeah, you can't pass that up.
What if the Lions would bite on him?
That'd be pretty cool.
I would like that because Jaden Reed is on the Packers, and it makes me sad that one of my favorite players from MSU in recent memory is on my least favorite team.
Correct.
That's okay. We'll beat him on Thanksgiving.
Oh, there you go.
I think we done did it. I think we've hit everything that we wanted to hit this week.
I think so.
So, pretty good show. We got a lot to cover. But by next show, actually, let me see how are the Heat doing.
Oh, let's have a look.
Let's take a gander. The Heat are down 37-34 in the second quarter.
Still very close.
So, a close game.
Yeah.
But the Heat have yet to close. They had to finish off this sweep here.
Celtics said don't let them get one.
Oh, I was just about to say. That was I remember I missed that. So
yeah.
It's like I saw that it was like Marcus Smart, and I was like, oh, he's being Marcus Smart. He's being Marcus Dumb today, I guess.
Well, yeah, Marcus Smart and
don't let
Brown.
us get one. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess we won't.
Right. That's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, we will know. We certainly will know the Stanley Cup and the NBA finals will be determined by then. I'm trying to think of any other major things that might happen. I don't know. There might be some things in NFL free agency. Because there's still some guys out there. DeAndre Hopkins, we don't know what's going on with him.
That's true.
I don't know when, because when can you start cutting players? That's not until like July, right?
I want to say it's July. Yeah, it's definitely closer to the start of the year for sure.
Okay. And I think the Austin Matthews thing, I think there's like a no trade clause starting June or July 1st.
Okay.
So I think it would be July 1st because the season would still be going on. So I think it's July 1st.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So, we'll see. Maybe there'll be something. Maybe Erod will be traded by next week. This is every week we're going to check in on whether or not Eduardo Rodriguez has been sent away.
It'll be our number one story for the rest of the show.
Yes.
Until it happens.
Has Eduardo Rodriguez been traded? No. Okay.
Okay. Good show. We're done.
Good to know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was all we had for this week. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe, hit the like button, all that jazz. We'll be back again next Tuesday evening. We'll see what's going on. Probably talk some more NBA stuff, more NHL stuff, as stated before. Seth, any final words before we go and wrap this show up?
I don't think so, but I am really hoping Home Depot does not need my services next Tuesday evening.
Well,
that's all I'll say.
we'll have to arrange something.
I think so.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Have a good night, everybody, and we will see you all next week. Say goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye, folks.